Good day, Reed here. Back busy working. These trees we got going in. That's an easy one to see. It's one of the bigger ones planted some years ago. Nice redwood taking place, and I'm upping this path here today. Creating paths with whatever tool you need is kind of crucial for living a good life. And I was conversing with another parent recently, and the idea of having strong boundaries came up. Now I've got a 12-year-old and I've got a 3 and a 1-year-old, and I've got a rather sharp and biting no. And thankfully, all my kids seem to listen to it, except for the 3-year-old, who has her own mind about her. And thank goodness. I mean, seriously, the goal of being a parent is to raise an adult. And so, the older your kids get, the less rules they should have on them, the less no's they should hear. And at the same time, when they're little, it seems like it's really good to recognize that boundaries are fine, that life isn't always up to you to decide what to do. As for instance, my 3-year-old is going to preschool, and she doesn't really like to wear clothes or safety belts in her booster seat kind of a thing. And sometimes it's full-out battles that go on between her and myself or her mom, and it sucks. It's so terrible. There's no joy in that moment. Even if 10 minutes later I can get back to enjoying each other. Now, that's the same thing with making a path. Sometimes you gotta bring out the heavy tools. Some tools are bigger than this to make a good path, so that whether we're bringing a stroller down it or a walker, it's ready to handle our full life cycle. And those paths also can relate to taking care of our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and the ability to say, no, I'm not going to let myself down today and not do these things that I know are good for myself. This includes our diet. It's so easy in this life to get sidetracked by any number of things that we get off our path to living a good life. And the other aspect to that is, my 12-year-old really understands no so well, I almost never need to say it. It's just a matter of checking in to be like, hey, how are these things going? And I think that's partly because we had firm no's early on. We let her know about addictions, primarily related to screens and sugar. And because of that, it's a lot easier now. Now, for people who haven't told their kids no, or been told no for themselves, you might have a lot more resistance to having a boundary. It might come across as something to rebel against a lot more, rather than having an understanding of oneself and how the flow of life moves, and the recognition that, there are challenges, but you can rise to those occasions and overcome them and succeed even when there's failure. Failure is only failure when you stop. Otherwise, it's just a learning moment. And so, with myself, I've got my path of my album release happening on the 17th. I'm still waiting for the last 5 masters to come in. It's a week from tomorrow that's happening. I've already invited a bunch of people over for my album release listening party. I got some more invitations to send out. So if you haven't heard from me and you're interested in that, and you live on Salt Spring or nearby and want to come, definitely reach out and let me know. Happy to have more people come. I haven't quite hit capacity just yet. And I'm not creating an event for that, as in like a something to share event-wise. I'm just sending out individual invitations to it. And, you know, I'm staying on the path even though there feels like there's different obstructions to it. And I haven't hit all the marks along the way that I wanted to, but I'm just continuing forward. I'm not letting those failures derail my whole moment. And so I'm sure it'll be a grand time, and I'm enjoying the process of watching what comes up for myself relating to performing again. It's been, honestly, well over a decade now since I have really done this length of a performance and hosted this sort of an event. And so I'm noticing, okay, I want to get out this weekend and run through a bunch of different aspects of that to kind of prime myself for this. And, you know, in one's life and making the path, if you want to like prime yourself, I hear of people setting their running shoes beside their bed to make it easy to get into them in the morning so they can actually get for the run. I have a calendar that I use every day to make sure that I'm hitting the marks that I need to for the day and the week and the month and even the year. And having these tools easily accessible to ourselves, so that, or having things absent from our life, like if you're struggling with a screen or sugar, it's like, don't have sugar in your house. Well, put your screen in a different room so you can't just grab it and use it. Whatever it is you're struggling with, like, make it an obstacle to using it. And whatever the things are you're trying to implement in your life to create the paths for, make it as easy and simple as possible to do. And also recognize, like, we kind of contain all of our ages. So if you haven't had good boundaries in your life and no one ever told you no for things that you really wanted to do, maybe just recognize that, like, that 3-year-old exists in all of us. And it's okay to let them know that you care about them, but it's still a no. And that's one thing I do when I am dealing with my 3-year-old, is I might get really upset in a moment. And then later on, I re-acknowledge that moment and say, I don't feel like I was the best person in that moment. I'm sorry, and I was really struggling with your struggle in that moment. And yesterday, she even apologized to me for her struggling against me in that moment without me needing to draw that out of her, which is a beautiful moment. And so to realize that as we make these different paths in our life, whether there's a struggle or ease and grace, that there's an ability to also come back and be gentle afterwards if you had to be stern. That there's an ability to really make a lot of progress so that later on it becomes easier because you're just used to it. And so with that, I hope you guys are having a great day out there. Thanks for checking out my Bandcamp page at bendingreeds.bandcamp.com. You can find me on the streaming services at Bending Reeds. And thanks for liking these videos. Thanks for watching them. Thanks for subscribing to this YouTube channel. With that, have too much fun.